welcome to ABA Inside Track, the podcast that's like reading in your car, but safer. I'm your host, Robert Perry Cruz, and with me as always are my fabulous co-hosts.
Yahoy there, mateys. It's me, Jackie.
That's the new way you're starting the show?
Ahoy, ahoy, and it's Diana.
Oh, boy. I don't really know how to seg into our podcast.
Hey, you said you wanted a lot of energy and vibe.
There we
I'm just
go.
going to clap my hands,
Don't
but
do that.
everybody hates their hands claps when you're listening to a podcast.
Oh, sure.
When people clap their hands and you're like in the car and it's like so loud.
It's not a great...
simulated hand clap.
Okay.
No.
We are here. We're here.
It.
That's right.
It's midday.
Yeah.
Even though it's midday, it's also dusk.
It's the wrong time.
We live in New England.
We're recording at the wrong time. We're recording in the wrong space. But
all my context cues are gone.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. But this isn't a podcast about podcast recording etiquette. It's a podcast about behavior analysis and behavior analytic research, where every week we pick a topic and discuss recent or relevant research on that topic. And this week we are going to be talking about video modeling variations.
Yeah. So we did a whole episode on video modeling way back in episode 23.
That's a long time
of
ago.
This show. It was probably the year 2016 or 2017.
2016, definitely. Yeah.
That was the first year of the show.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
if it was, but it was quite a long time ago. And so this is episode number 220 something or other. And so it's been just about 200 episodes since we've directly talked about video modeling. So I thought it might be time for us to circle back. So if you are unfamiliar with the topic of video modeling, you could circle back to that very old now episode to hear some of maybe the basics. But I think that there are a lot of kind of like procedural questions that people have about video modeling, like what's the best way to do it, or is it okay if I make this modification or that permutation? So I thought that we could address some of those types of questions today.
That sounds great.
That.
All right. Well, you got 4 articles that we will be discussing today that all feature some variation on the old video modeling trope technology, I guess is probably the more precise term.
I think it's a trope.
I just like to say trope.
I don't even know what that means. Is that like a group?
Sort of, yeah.
Cool.
It's like it's like a
that's a
category.
troop.
A troop is a group?
A troop is a group.
Like a trope. It's a theme.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's like, but sometimes it's like a hackneyed theme.
Just in case the listeners don't know.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Okay, so we do have 4 articles that we're going to review today, and I will tell you what they are now. They are Enhancing Conversation Skills in Children with Autism via Video Technology. Which is better, self or other as a model? ? By Scherer, Pierce, Paradis, Kisaki, Ingersoll, and Schreibman.
My favorite Mouseketeers.
That is from Behavior Modification all the way back in 2001.
I know
Sometimes called 2001.
It's one of the OGs.
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah, we are pulling some older literature here because these questions have, turns out, been around for a while, but they persist. So the next one is Teaching Daily Living Skills to Children with Autism through Instructional Video Modeling, and that's by Shipley, Benamu, Lutzker, and Taubman, published in Journal of Positive Behavior Interventions, 2002. We will follow that up with Strategies for Teaching Children with Autism to Imitate Response Chains Using Video Modeling. That was by Tereshko, McDonald, and Ahern, published in Research in Autism Spectrum Disorders, 2010. And finally, Teaching Daily Living Skills to 7 Individuals with Severe Intellectual Disabilities, a Comparison of Video Prompting to Video Modeling, by Canella Malone, Fleming, Chung, Wheeler, Basbigill, and Singh. That was published in the Journal of Positive Behavior Interventions, 2011.
That one I love because it's like, I already know how many participants and what you're doing in the title.
Yeah, they fit the IV, the DV, and the participants into that title.
Right? That's like a graduate student's dream.
I want some mystery in my title. I don't like when they're going to spell it out for me.
Like
I'm not going to read this.
Like, which is better? self or other.
Oh, there you go.
That
Spoiler!
one, you got the purpose.
Pulls me in, right?
Yep.
I have to read this because I need to know the answer.
Right.
And they're both in quotes. You're like,
Yeah.
ooh, are we going existential here?
We did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did we?
You got to go
did.
colon question statement. That's how you write
yeah.
a journal article title. If we've looked at 226 times 2 to 4 articles per episode, we've seen a lot of journal titles.
You sure have.
Said them multiple times on a recording. Well, let's go to the Wayback Machine to 2001, which I remember being a great year for so many reasons.
Why?
It wasn't a great
It
Oh,
wasn't.
I don't remember 2001.
2001?
I was in college.
Yeah.
I think it
I
was
mean,
fine.
9/11 is usually what comes to
9/11.
mind.
Oh,
we
yeah.
usually think about it
Yeah.
as sort of, that beginning of the end year.
Okay, that's funny because I was like, I know I was in college, but where was I?
2001, the best year of my life. So many exciting things.
Well,
Anyway.
before we hop right into the articles, I was just going to say that we could maybe identify what some of the common questions people might have
good idea.
related to video modeling. So,
Okay.
Mine was, what is going to be in the video modeling? In the video model? Is it other people? Is it children? Is it adults? Is it the actual participant? Which is better?
yeah, great. So people often have that question, does it need to be the person who is going to be performing what they see?
Right.
Does it have to be a video of them? Is it better if it is an adult? Is it better if it is a peer? In one of the articles I'm going to review, the question, they work to answer the question that comes up a lot. Is it better for the video to have the perspective of the viewer, right? Like, how does it look when I make an egg sandwich from my point of view versus just watching someone else do something? And then another question that pops up a good bit is it better to watch the whole video first or just watch kind of like action by action or even follow along with the video? And another thing we hadn't talked about yet, Rob, but in the article you reviewed, they also add in a voiceover instructional component as well,
Yes.
which comes up too
I
sometimes.
love the voiceover.
I've seen that more recently. I think I
Yeah.
can't remember which articles. I know we've done some recently where they did talk about like whether they wanted to or they had the voiceover. I know that is sort of a kind of a video editing trick that I've seen more frequently
Right.
on like how-to videos, but not necessarily published literature, just kind of general common sense practice kind of thing.
There is some literature out there, but it's usually, or the more recent ones are looking at behavioral skills training combined with the video modeling with the voiceover component. I want to say it's Jason Valadescu, but
I think it is.
yeah, and I didn't pick it for this episode just because this other research touched on it and is all kind of focused on looking at a preschool population or population with disabilities. But there is other research out there on the voiceover. So you can check that out too. So all of those are questions that kind of like swirl around when you're maybe attempting to make your videos or think about how you would really like to teach the skill that you're going to teach. So we're going to attempt to answer some of that today. And again, if you go back to the old episode, you can hear us talk about common skills that are taught using video modeling, but independent living skills, leisure skills, self-help skills, vocational skills are common targets. Almost anything that you might teach using a behavior chain could be also lend itself to being taught via video modeling. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Does that sound good?
That
Yeah.
sounds great.
All right.
All right.
Now we're going to go mostly in chronological order, which means Jackie has the 2001 article.
Right.
Take it away.
So this introduction, I was surprised at this introduction. Let's put it out there. Because they make some claims. They make some claims in this introduction without providing citations, which never usually happens. Right? So they start off, I think, very broadly, like we started off in our seminal video modeling episode, talking about how modeling is important. And it has been shown to be effective with rapid acquisition in young children as early as the 1960s when you're looking at the work by Bandura, right, with the typically developing children population, where if they watch a model engage in aggressive behavior, they're more likely to engage in aggressive behavior, right? They also demonstrated that when someone watched someone engage in an activity and then that other person was delivered some sort of reinforcement, the observer would then also be more likely to engage in that behavior. So they kind of give us like an overview of the earlier modeling work. Mm-hmm. And they say now, due to advanced technology, which I love, use videos to make it easier and more preferred to the participant, right? And this is one of the times where I'm like, where's that citation? But they don't have one.
Yeah. Which is funny because then later someone will cite this article as the citation for that fact.
Right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and so they said, one of the things that's been questioned is who needs to be part of the video. Does it have to be the participant? So that is described as video self-monitoring. They described it on page 141 as a procedure in which people see themselves on videotapes only showing the adaptive behavior, right? And they said, do we need to do that?
Right.
They said that people say that's wildly preferred than using other people. But again, there's no citation.
Yeah.
So I think it's subjective.
Well, people say.
People say. People say.
They asked 10 passerby to the research lab and said, what do you like?
Da-ting!
Yourself
Self.
as a video or other?
And then it came up as 30 people said that.
Yeah.
Survey says.
Yeah. And so then...
Making whoopee, uh-oh.
It's always making whoopee. And so in contrast to that, the self-video model, what they'll call now is the other model. And so that's when someone other than the participant is engaging in the action in the video. So they say that both of them have their advantages without citations. Just putting this out there.
I mean, technically, most things have an advantage and disadvantage you could probably make up.
Right, so they say some of the advantages without citations, just putting it out there. From the other perspective is that it is easier to make it, right? Because you can rehearse it with an adult or a neurotypical child, and that might be easier. It might be quicker to make the videos.
Yeah.
But there has been some research suggesting I think it's Doswick, that the self might be a superior treatment because students like to watch themselves. It may cut down on the visual processes of trying to comprehend the other, like they see themselves. So that might make learning easier again, but there's no reference here.
Yeah, I found most times I've suggested, what about video modeling? You could do self-video modeling. Most people say, no, I offered that once, and the child was like, absolutely not. I will not be videotaped. You can't, I don't want to see myself.
Most people don't want to.
Most people don't, right? So,
but I've also had that same issue you're talking about too, where it was like a peer video model where there were two kids in the video, and then you had to, but neither of them were the kids who were then going to do the thing, right? And so then you had to be like, you are this kid.
Right.
The other kid is that kid. So remember your part because you're this kid. It got kind of complicated, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
So another thing about this, though, is that the self-video model may be very difficult to make because the participant doesn't actually know how to engage this in the skill, which is why you are making the video model, right? So it's going to require a lot of editing and prompting and a little more time to make the self model.
I'll be honest, I was really hoping that they were going to have some sort of really exciting technique or technology as opposed to a lot of the sort of, of course that's what you would do if you had no really exciting ideas. And that's pretty much what we got.
Well, this article's 20 years old. Yes. So, I mean,
I was thinking
what they had available to them was basically the equivalent of making a mixtape.
Right.
Right? You have to tape it and then tape it to another thing, basically.
Wait.
Now we have a lot more available.
Digital video was barely a thing in 2001.
Right.
So they would have had to really splice some work together.
Right.
To which you think you'd say, I'm going to save this article idea for the future when technology allows ease of editing.
But
it's hard to predict the future. Right. I find.
I would predict that the video technology will be better.
Anyway, so what they state is that the majority of the studies that had been done on video modeling up to 2001 had used other.
Yeah.
Other. So they wanted to look at, number one, they wanted to demonstrate that video modeling was effective for rapid acquisition for children with autism because up to this point there had been a dearth of research. I love it when people use that word. They wanted to compare the effectiveness of the
paucity.
I know,
I'm sorry.
All the silly words that you only see in research articles. Nobody uses that in real life. They wanted to, number two, uncover the effectiveness of whether self-video modelings versus other video modelings would be more effective. And then they wanted to look at what characteristics might be involved that would lead to a positive outcome. Right. And I don't really think they did a good job answering that question. I think that was just speculative. Just putting it out there. Okay. So they had 5 autistic boys that participated in this study. They ranged in age from 7 to 11 years old. All of the boys had expressive language skills, could speak in short sentences, but didn't engage in conversation. So, bam. They had 6 peers that participated as the models in the videos, ranging in age from 6 to 8. And so what they used for their materials were 20 questions. And these questions were questions that the students could not answer.
Is it bigger than a bread box? Animal, vegetable, mineral?
It's like, not that. It's, what are your favorite games? What do you like to do at recess? What do you like to do on the weekends? Just, general chatty questions. Then you get down here. What's your bedtime? Where do you live? What's your phone number? It's like how to succeed at a party.
Yeah. Great questions.
Do you prefer videos of yourself or others? Right.
What do you do when you're happy?
Classic.
That's my favorite one.
Classic.
What do you do when you're happy?
I kind of like that, actually.
Me too. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that's nice. So they had 20 questions. And these questions, the answers were derived from what the parents said. So know that.
Okay.
Right? So the researchers gave these questions to the caregivers and said, how would your son answer these 20 questions, right? So
it's best guess.
Best guess.
Okay.
And so...
Other than what time does your child go to bed, also...
We all know that, right?
Very parent-focused in terms of our answers, which that also kind of rubs me the wrong way.
But yes.
Yeah, but it is old research. So.
But it is old research, yes. So then...
There's no excuse.
They had 8 questions that served as the questions that were going to be modeled in the self-video modeling, 8 questions that were going to be part of the other video modeling, and then 4 that were used for generalization sessions. And the questions weren't linked, right? Not like what was your bedtime, wasn't always self. It varied across participants. So for one, it could be self, for one, it could be other, right? So that's good. They did that. Yep.
Counterbalanced.
That's the word.
That's a theme in most of this research.
Word. That's counterbalance. Also a word that you never see except when you're looking at research. They also, so I think it's important to note that they also included the return answers to the questions, right? So that was the conversation part. So it's like, what time do you go to bed? What's your bedtime? The participant's supposed to answer.
9:30. What time do you go to bed?
Right. And then I'm like, then...
That's creepy. Stop asking me these weird questions, kid.
So then the adult response cannot match what the child's response could be.
But you do go to bed at child's bedtime, Jackie.
I actually go to bed before many of your children. Yes. So, yes, I'm a 9:30 p.m. everyone. It's because my child gets up ridiculously early. So I have to be ready to go. But yes, so I couldn't answer truthfully. So like one of the answers for the teachers was like, I stay up till midnight. Or they have a different teacher name, right? So they can't echo it, the answer.
Okay.
So the sessions were conducted at school for the majority of the participants and at home for one of the participants. So they recorded every single session, and the correct responses were taken from the videotapes. And a correct conversation was defined as a child's correct response to the question, which began within 5 seconds of the initial question, and then a correct return question. So you had to do both, right? So reliability...
What do you do when you're happy?
Yeah. You love that one.
That's a weird one.
I actually like that one.
Smile?
I really just keep doing what I'm doing.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Pro tip for you.
Totally.
So, reliability was taken in 33% of the sessions, but they separated it, so I thought they weren't going to give us the answers. So in the notes I was like, but they did not give it to us, ha ha ha. But they did. It was good. It was like 80 to 100%. It was in the results.
Oh, okay.
So they used a multiple design across participants and all training treatment design to look for effectiveness. So during baseline, they asked the 20 questions, but they gave no feedback for any of the responses. The therapist would answer with their answer and then move on to the next question, right? They said baseline took several weeks.
These are tough questions they're asking. Kids got to think about it.
Okay, but...
Maybe they just didn't get a lot of sessions in.
Yeah, it just, I was like, everybody took several weeks.
Yeah.
Which is, I was like, woo, okay.
Yeah, if they only do it like 3 times a week, maybe.
That's true. You're right. During baseline, they also did generalization probes.
Smart.
On settings, peers, different instructors, and then the 4 questions. Some of them had generalization probes with their moms. So then they take a short break from talking about the procedures and talk about the video production.
These are tough decisions when you're writing an article.
Yes.
Where do you put it?
Yeah, I would
Right?
put it before baseline.
I probably would too.
Yeah.
But I also now would put IOA, the results of IOA when you introduce IOA, and I think
Same.
that has changed over time.
I agree too.
So.
Yeah. So they took a short break and talked about video production. So maybe they did it as they were doing it. They did baseline to make sure they couldn't respond.
Yeah.
Then they made the video. So when they made the other video, they just practiced with the peer. So the therapist asked the question, the peer answered and asked the question, and then the therapist answered. And it would be the answer that the participant would answer.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Our best guess as to what they liked.
Yes.
Okay.
So then with the self-tape, the participants were needed to answer the response.
Yep.
So that they used cue cards
Yep.
or verbal prompts.
Yep.
So they had 3 people there. They had the child, the therapist, and then the prompter behind them, and then they had to splice together the correct answers.
I don't remember them mentioning, but they were like they weren't the big studio cue cards
They
you
didn't
hold
mention.
off.
They just said reading cue cards.
So I'm imagining the kids holding a little card.
Johnny's in the basement mixing up the medicine.
Yeah,
like
those-
that.
those
I'm on the
cards.
basement. Thinking about the government.
Speaking of old
I don't know what that
references,
is. But anyway, it's okay.
It's Subterranean Homesick Blues by Bob Dylan.
it's an old documentary
Oh, okay.
movie.
But all the participants had sight words with the exception of one, so
Okay.
that was effective.
Poor Joey there, just like, your next line is,
Right?
Well, I've done it that way
I
before.
go to bed at 8.
Yeah, and I've done it that way before. Where you give the verbal prompt, which is okay, but then you have to splice it together, and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
And
really tricky.
that's what they did. And post-video production, they asked the questions again to make sure they didn't learn the answers from making the video.
That's good thinking.
That was good thinking, so maybe that's why they put that right there. And then they had the video treatment.
That's where the several weeks came in. They had to get their old
Right.
editing splicing machine. They call Steven Spielberg and be like, how do we edit this thing?
Yeah.
Right. And so this is an interesting treatment in the 2000s.
Okay.
So what they did is they gave the videos to the parents, and before they went to bed at night, they had the participants watch the videos 3 times.
I read this and I was thinking they might as well have just been like, parents, put a headset on your child and have the video play in a loop while they sleep, and then maybe they'll learn the answers.
And then the next day, talk about a delay, I love it. The next day, the therapist came by and asked the questions that were related to the video that they were supposed to watch last night. And one thing they did not talk about is whether the parents actually gave the videos or not.
Right. How do you get
Right.
procedural integrity on that?
Yep.
The parents should take a video of the child watching the video. 'Cause they-
In 2001 technology, they put like the VHS tape into their giant home camcorders.
So they never mentioned that could be a limitation if the parents didn't watch the video. Like, we don't know. Right? But anyway, so that was interesting.
That is
So
an
they
interesting
kept-
choice.
Right? And so they never watched the videos at school. They just watched them before going to bed.
Presumably.
Presumably, yes.
We assume the parents also then didn't drill them for hours and hours about the questions that they were
Right, they
supposed
said
to
that they
answer.
weren't supposed to, but we don't know. So that was fascinating when I'm reading this. But interesting use of time,
Yeah.
right? Very creative. So,
Efficient, maybe.
right, so they kept going until 100%, or they had no increase across several weeks, which both happened in this study. So then,
That's a theme in these articles.
yeah, when they decided that they were done the study, either people made progress or they didn't. 2 months later, they took data to see whether the children could still answer the questions. And only one participant wasn't available. So let's talk about what they found. So 2 participants did very well and did well quickly, right? They learned in 2 sessions in 3 sessions or something, 5 sessions. Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
One of the participants, Sam, actually acquired a little bit more of the skill during the post-tape video making. So he had no responding in baseline, and then slightly elevated responding in after he made the videotape. And then once he did the video treatment, the video modeling, he did really well.
Well, because he got textual prompts?
Yeah.
Right. So, like, that in and of itself could be an intervention.
Right? Yeah. It wasn't enough.
Right.
But it was, he was responding around 40-something%, which is better than 0.
Yeah.
He remembered, yeah. And so one participant, Luke, every time I say Luke, this is a throwback to all of ours, I think of Sean Luke. It's like a commercial.
Oh, the coffee?
International coffee.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you, Rob. It's like my favorite commercial in the whole world.
Jean-Luc.
Jean-Luc. So every time I see Luke or hear Luke, I think that. Just so y'all
Amazing.
know. So if your name is Luke, email me and I will swoon. So Luke.
Especially if you bring International House of Coffee.
Right? I don't even drink coffee, but turns out if I did, that's
I don't
what
think
I'd
it was a
drink.
good coffee. I'm pretty sure it was like a really gross powdered thinger.
Right. So for this, they.
Write in if your name is Luke and you have first-hand experience with International
It was
House
like
of Coffee.
Viennese.
Oh, it's like
Yeah.
Vienna blend.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Remember that bistro in Paris?
Those were good.
They were good. No. So baseline post-tape training, post-tape making, he had no responding. And then slowly, I think over a few sessions, like what looks not slow for me, looks quite fast for me, right, when you're looking, that he did really well and he did better in the other model than the cell.
Okay.
And so then 2 participants did not do well. They didn't really learn after like 50-something sessions. Which was surprising for the experimenters because they're both mainstreamed in public education classrooms. They had like a strong verbal repertoire. They were very surprised.
I'm not
No, me neither.
because I didn't watch the video right before they
Right.
asked the question.
Yeah, the question, I mean, that's a delay. But they didn't talk about that.
Right.
I would have wanted more information as to what does their typical day look like, because to talk about they're mainstreamed in a classroom doesn't mean anything to me. It means that this child is physically in a space. Are they learning in a group? Are they learning from from auditory cues? Because I would expect a child, if that's how they just were in class and they learned everything just like their neurotypical peers, I would expect if you watch the same video 3 times a night for 50 days, you learn at least the answers to a couple of those questions.
Yeah, so
And
who
they're not hard
But
questions.
maybe,
Maybe they didn't even watch it.
they didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying. That's
Maybe
what I'm
they-
trying to spit out. Yeah.
Maybe they didn't watch it, or maybe the delay was too long.
The delay was super long.
So
there was no
long.
prompting or reinforcement. Maybe, that just it wasn't interesting to them, and they weren't motivated.
Right. There's
cetera.
so many things.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway.
So many questions.
So many questions. They also so their like take home point of the study was really that there isn't a difference really between self or other. It may be idiosyncratic to the participant, but given the complexities of making the self video model, it may outweigh the benefits of using it if you don't need to.
If the participant isn't,
Totally into themselves.
begging you, please, I love videos of myself, then you probably want to just, who's available to learn these lines and do my video with?
But
Yeah.
I think that's it's an interesting question to posit, right? Because as an experimenter, you want to find the most effective thing.
Exactly.
And when you see here that doesn't necessarily matter, that kind of takes a lot off the practitioner and the clinician to make that video. Even though it's easier now, it's still not the easiest.
No,
Right.
editing
These are
still
easy.
takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And I didn't select for us an article that compared adult models versus peer models when you're looking at kids, but the research is pretty similar as the one you just stated, in that it doesn't seem to usually make a big difference.
Right.
That's the quick and dirty summary on that.
Thank you.
Great.
And that's my article. Just kidding.
All right. Well, let's take a little break and then we're going to come back with even more variations on video modeling. We'll be right back.
Do you want to be a BCBA?
Sure, we all do.
Now you can come to Regis College in Weston, Mass. to get your graduate degree.
Choose from any one of these courses.
Masters of Science in Applied Behavior Analysis.
Masters of Science in Special Education.
Dual degree in Special Ed and ABA.
Or be eligible for your postmaster's certificate.
You can complete your degree and be ready to sit for the exam in 2 years. And our 2017 grads had a 100% pass rate on the BACB exam.
Come enjoy practicum placement support, ethics mini handbooks, PhD level professors, small class sizes, and a service trip to Iceland.
If interested, don't delay. Supplies are limited. Learn more at regiscollege.edu.
Again, that's www.regiscollege.edu, regiscollege.edu. One more time, www.regiscollege.edu.
See you there!
And we're back talking about video modeling and all of the different ways to set up your video modeling trials. At least, the 3 to 4 mentioned in the research that we are discussing on this episode. So let's move on into the year 2002. Diana.
We move so fast.
Diana, why don't you review your review of teaching daily living skills?
All right. I will do that. So this article is by Shipley, Benamou, and colleagues, and it's from 2002. And I picked it because it's one of the first studies that was asking this question about how important is it if the video is from the point of view of the person, right? So I think I'm making sense when I say this. It's like, does the video look like it looks when you do something yourself, right? So like if I'm gonna make my cup of coffee, then I only see my own hands and the coffee cup and the stirring, right? I don't see a person performing all of those actions with their whole torso in their head.
It's a first person view.
Yes.
Unless they're having an out of body experience.
Exactly.
I read research about that in college. It doesn't happen.
Oh, okay.
I did. They wrote research on it back in the 40s and 50s. They'd put a thing on a high shelf and they'd say, when you sleep, try to have your ghost go see what's on the shelf. And it didn't work.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that's neither here nor there. Okay, so...
No, it's here. I just said it right now.
So that's what they wanted to explore in this very early article. And I do just want to point out, there's been a lot of research on this since then, but I picked an early one. There's a recent meta-analysis that examined the research on point of view video modeling. So if anyone wants to check that out, it's Mason and colleagues 2013. And they were just kind of reviewing it overall. And they said, yes, this is very effective, right? So they weren't doing a comparison directly between point of view and whatever not point of view is called, but just, does this work? And yes, it does. So it was more of a stats article. They said the effect size for doing videos with point of view was 0.78, which is a very high effect size. But that wasn't a comparison between the two. So I didn't include it in my full summary. But going back to 2002, point of view video modeling, our authors said, has many advantages. Primarily, it's thought that it would reduce outside distracting stimuli, and then theoretically, you're making the video look as similar as possible to what the person's going to experience, so that might sort of help, with stimulus control after they've watched the video.
It's very nouveau art, too.
Yes.
It's like a found footage movie.
Ooh, right?
It's real Blair Witch action there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot one of the Mason and colleagues' findings as well. They said that overall, in their summary of the research, the point of view video modeling has been effective for shorter procedures, but for longer and more complex behavior change, the results were more mixed, with more studies requiring additional prompting. So those are more complex behavior chains. Throughout the literature, you see that those are harder to learn just by definition. So that shouldn't be shocking either. But our Shipley article here is asking, how can we best present video models? And they thought that there hadn't been a lot of research at this point in time specific with populations with attentional difficulties or, more significant developmental and intellectual disabilities. And they thought that the point of view version might be helpful for those students. So they had 3 autistic children in the study. They were all 5 years old, and they were named Danny, David, and Amy. And they all had some expressive language, which was emerging, and then fairly strong receptive language repertoires. They designed the study to be a multiple probe design across skills, and each child had 2 to 3 tasks that they were given to learn, and they all were intended to be sort of independent living skills types of tasks, but the kids were only 5, so they were pretty simple.
Yeah, they weren't go clean the house and then clean the car.
Yeah,
they were very appropriate for 5-year-olds, even maybe a little challenging, I would say. So
make orange juice.
For Danny, his tasks were making orange juice, preparing a letter to be mailed, and then they noted that they did that with the Blue's Clues mailbox set. I know.
Blue's Clues.
I love Blue's Clues.
Same, me too.
So that took me back.
Steve was on it, not when Joe was on it.
Steve was the best. Joe was okay.
He's okay.
But he was not Steve.
No.
So
Nobody could be Steve.
No. And then Danny learned to set the table. And then for David, he only had 2 tasks, cleaning the fishbowl and setting the table.
Cleaning the fishbowl is hard.
Yeah, what?
So,
I don't know.
What homes are these kids living in where they gotta clean the fishbowl?
It sounded hard to me, but...
that is very hard. I just got a fish, full disclosure to our audience. My child compromised me getting a fish, and because I didn't want to get a cat, and I find that clean the fishbowl is one of the harder tasks. Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
It's super great. No, you have to like move the fish. You gotta like clean out all the gunk in there. It
So
gets
this
nasty.
5-year-old is advanced.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a simplified version.
Sure.
And then Amy,
Poorly clean the fishbowl.
Yeah.
Amy's tasks were feed the cat, put the letter in the mailbox, and set the table.
That makes sense.
So everybody had to set the table.
I like that.
And then when they finished the task, the reinforcer was a treat or a toy. Sessions were like 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
So then what they did was they made the instructional video modeling videos. And they did this they had to, just in order to make them, they had to be sort of segmented, right? So that someone was like standing behind the experimenter who was performing, or whoever was performing the task. And they would video that part, and then if they needed to like rearrange and get the camera from a different angle, so they were still just getting the hands, they did that.
They need a GoPro.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think those
They didn't have-
existed in 2000.
So then they had to piece the videos all together like a big mixtape. And then they also did a very interesting thing, which like yours too, they like never mentioned this again. They said they added a little bit at the beginning where they took a favorite cartoon character's video, like from TV, and then dubbed over the character talking to like with the intention of having it be interesting to the child. So they had their favorite characters say, "This is everything your friend needs to do the task. When I say go, I want you to watch your friend do the task. Ready? Go."
I would love to see these videos.
It's probably Blue's Clues.
Right? It's probably Steve or Blue
Yeah.
being like,
Yep. She's miming it.
yeah.
a very odd choice.
I kind of love it.
I
but
love it
again,
too.
I don't have any evidence for that. I will
That feels
say
like
that
a lot of work. Where's the research on how many cartoon characters do you need to remind the students to watch the video model presentation you're about to?
well, I will say,
put there?
Rob, that there is also another study I did not include, but is very interesting, which is Palechka and McDonald, in which they made a comparison between teaching children to perform like little play sequences based on commercially available videos, i.e. Little People videos that were like pre-made. They used to come with the sets. Remember that?
Yeah.
They were those versus people with actual like human hands reenacting the same exact skit that was in the CD available on the DVD, and they both were effective.
That's good. Why don't they just use like toy commercials from the 80s?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Optimus Prime!
Yeah.
I bought all the new Transformers! Blue, ah!
So I didn't include that one. Just I ran out of time. Apparently, I could do like multiple of these episodes.
Yeah,
Yes, but you know, when you can sum it up in the 2 sentences right there, maybe it wouldn't
All
have
right,
made for
well then,
as exciting a discussion.
I'll move on. So in baseline, they gave them all the materials and they said, here's everything you need to do the task. When I say go, I want you to do the task. Ready, go. So it's the same as what the cartoon character said. And then either...
Did they license those cartoon characters?
I also hope they said it in Steve voice. Right?
He just sounds like a guy.
No, he doesn't. He's got like a good sing-songy.
He's got a great voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to diss
We just
Steve's
got a
voice, but
letter.
isn't that like a cartoon
Just
voice?
got a letter. Jackie keeps doing this. I don't know
Moving your
how to
arms.
describe what you're doing. It's like a way the scarecrow would dance, kind of.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's moving your elbow up and down. That's what
Like a
he used to do.
hoedown dance.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. That's what she keeps doing. So they could either not, perform the task, or after 60 seconds without doing any of the steps, or if they said that they were done, when the experimenter asked them if they were all done, then the session ended, and they received praise for attending to the task. That was the baseline. And then in intervention, it was the same, except now there was a 21-inch TV and a VCR present.
Woo! I get they got that from a grant.
Although DVD writing
They-
was not readily available in 2002.
Only showed the video one time.
Oh, interesting.
And I find this interesting because I have always thought that the old literature showed it twice.
Twice or 3 times.
But there was this is a very early deviation from that to only showing it one time. And then in other studies, they'll reference studies that showed it 2 times as an early example. And then others will do this one as one of the 1 times as an early example. So this, deviation in the literature existed far earlier than I thought. So I was schooled on that.
Huh.
So they only showed the video once. Then they gave the same instruction as baseline. They gave praise for giving attention. Then, if the student or participant completed all the steps at 100%, they gave the reinforcer. If they didn't do the steps after 60 seconds, they gave another prompt. What was this prompt?
Just a prompt.
We don't know.
Just a prompt.
Maybe they watched the video again?
I don't
Maybe
think
it
so.
was a
They just
gesture.
whispered, try harder.
We don't know what the prompt was.
They just whispered, try harder.
We don't know what the prompt was. So that was weird to me.
Technological fail.
And then, if there was no responding, the session was over. For Amy, they added an additional prompt to have her look back at the TV because she was getting distracted by kids that were walking by.
That's fair.
Totally fair.
Amy, I'm with you.
And then, I know. And then Mastery was 2 sessions at 100%. They did some replication probes at the home with the video. And then they did post-video and follow-up where there was no video available. And then they checked after 1 month. The IOA was all good.
I love these video modeling video studies that they're like, I have unlimited time, so I'm doing follow-up at 1 month, 2 months, 6 months.
I know.
I'm just killing it.
So much fun.
Right?
Yeah, and then the results, I just wrote, tastes great, long-lasting.
Wow. Thank you. The results were great.
They really did. They had really lovely results where they didn't perform in baseline, and then they performed it once they had access to the video.
And the prompt, of which we do not know what it is.
We don't actually know how much the prompt was needed. They didn't give us that, and I did check. In the generalization probes, they had good responding. Once the video was removed, they had good responding. And follow-up, they had good responding with a slight decrease over time, which would be expected because the kids hadn't seen the video in this long period of time.
And
so
maybe things changed. Right?
Yeah.
Their hands got bigger.
We don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. So it was, quite a nice graph if you go take a look at those. Limitations that they listed are that it is time consuming to make these videos. There was no peer model, which I don't actually think that matters too much in these particular examples.
Yeah.
No.
And they did note that there should be more information about prerequisite skills for video modeling. And I was also pleased to kind of see that this early in the literature. I didn't realize it was way back there either. But they weren't sure, if they got these results because their participants had the prerequisite skills or what those prerequisite skills were.
Yeah.
So more to come on that in the future.
But, no limitations. Those sound like one of those sounds like a reviewer 2 limitation, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a little bit there. So overall, point of view video modeling was very effective for these participants. It's not a comparison between the types, but if you think that might be beneficial for your learner to shoot it from this viewpoint, it's not that much more difficult to do.
No.
So go ahead and try it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, before we get into our last set of articles, I want to remind all of our listeners that ABA Inside Track is ACE and QABA approved. By listening, you're able to earn 1 learning credit. All you need to do is finish listening to the show and then go to our website, abainsidetrack.com/getceus, or click the link in your show notes on your podcast player and enter in 2 secret code words. I'm going to give you the first one of those now. It's BART. B-A-R-T. BART. Like the character from The Simpsons. Or a different famous Bart. I can't think of one. After 34 years, that's the only Bart I know.
How about the pirate? Isn't there a pirate named Bart? Black Bart?
Black Bart,
Never heard of
possibly,
Black
but I
Bart.
don't remember from what. There's Dread Pirate Roberts, there's One-Eyed Willie. Black Bart's somewhere in there.
Don't have a cow.
Long John Silver. But all you gotta know is Bart. All right. So one of the other questions that we had about video modeling had to do with the complexity of video modeling. And this is something I always noticed when I would do video modeling with preschoolers, is the more complex the play script or the motor imitation that needed to occur, the more it always felt like magic when it worked and was sort of understandable when it didn't quite work as well. I mean, again, usually you're running sessions, so it's not like you always got to see the final graph on some of these projects. So we know that video modeling can take a number of sessions. So the big question here, and this is the Canella Malone and colleagues 2011 article, was what if we used a different style of video modeling called video prompting? And really the only difference between video modeling and video prompting is in video modeling, you watch a video of someone performing an entire behavior, target behavior, whatever it is. They're doing laundry, they're washing dishes, brushing their teeth, whatever it is. Whereas video prompting are multiple video clips of 1 step each, or multiple steps each, in sort of the chain of behavior.
I like that they gave that distinction because I always wondered what the difference between video prompting and video modeling was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to some extent, this article reads a little bit like when we did, we've done episodes on task analyses and like forward chaining and total task.
Totally.
This sort of felt like video prompting being the let's do individual steps in the chain, and then, unlike that though, they didn't stop. You'd watch a step, you'd engage in the step, the participant would engage in the step, then you'd show the next step, engage in the step, you'd help the student through any steps they missed, and so they'd eventually do the entire chain of events.
Isn't that like the modern day YouTube?
So, well, yeah, but it's the equivalent of like, I need to learn how to change change the washer in my faucet, and I could watch the whole 7-minute video, but I'm going to pause it and rewind it and pause it and rewind it till I get through the step. Then I'll go to the next step, and then I'll perform the step.
I love that.
Yeah. So this is actually a replication and extension of a previous Canella Malone joint where video modeling and video prompting has sort of gone head-to-head with each other. It was 2006, so there was quite a jump in time.
My goodness, what a time it was.
Oh, yes. Where Canella Malone and colleagues taught 6 individuals with autism and intellectual impairments to set the table and put away groceries. And they said, let's compare video modeling and video prompting. And they found that for all 6, video prompting was more effective. And the modeling actually had no effect at all, which is very different than the other articles. And this comes up multiple times in this study. Now, the limitations, of course, were things like, we only did this with 6 people, so maybe other people want to replicate this study.
Right.
But also that video modeling was done from that third-person perspective. So you're watching an individual perform the entire skill, whereas the video prompting was from the participant point of view, so that first-person point of view. So it wasn't really a direct comparison exactly of video modeling versus video prompting because both of them had different camera angles being used. So the question is, okay, well, what if we did use the same camera angles, and then it's much more of a direct comparison of the two procedures.
Man, it's such an easy replication. Those are when I see those replications, I'm like, hand in the air, like, why didn't I think of that?
Oh, no.
Right?
And in addition, the author said, well, what if we also ran this study with school-age children with different types of disabilities, including one that is deaf? Which they write like it was something that they were really thinking of, like that was the research question, as opposed to, these are the participants we had in the study. And then we made up a question about, I wonder what it will be like. Which again, is a fair question. However, the phrasing of it was, I found very hilarious in terms of like they had this like elaborate, like what if all these minor tweaks were part of our study? And then lo and behold, they were, as opposed to, I think, probably the other way around.
Probably the other way around. But it is great to get that information for generality purposes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I'm excited about it for the generality purposes. It's more the phrasing that I thought was a little goofy. So we've got 7 school-aged participants.
You're not buying it.
I'm not buying it, no. It's not my first article. So 7 school-aged participants, and again, by school-aged, they were from 5 to 22. They were not all,
Big
first
range.
graders.
Wow.
They were in school. They all had severe intellectual disabilities. It was an urban school, again, for individuals with severe disabilities. And again, one participant was deaf. They all scored low on the Vineland subtests around living skills, and they had no previous instruction using video before. So this is all new to them. The 2 tasks that were targeted were starting a load of laundry and then washing dishes. And by washing dishes, it was hand washing a plate, a spoon, and a cup. And these were chosen by the school staff as these are important skills we think everyone should know how to do. So they got put in the study. The classroom teacher was a part of the team created the TA for both of these skills, which is great. And both tasks, laundry and washing dishes, were filmed from that first person point of view. So if you were doing video prompting, similar to some of the other studies we talked about, there was a counterbalance between which student or which participant got the video prompting version for laundry or the video modeling version for laundry, and then the same for washing dishes. But if it was video prompting, you had about 18 clips. Each one had 1 step. The clips were like, about 3 to 15, 16 seconds. They were very short clips. They all also had a 1-sentence voiceover instruction.
Love it.
Now put the clothes in the washing machine, something like that. Video modeling was just all of the same steps, but they were all run from start to finish. So the whole video was like about 2 minutes long. However, they also did have the 1-sentence narration. So there was narration throughout the video. And really our dependent variable was just how many steps got completed after watching these videos.
Were you surprised
That
in
what?
the results?
Not really. No, I'm always surprised when video modeling comes out as terribly as it did in this study.
Yeah, I was.
Just jump ahead, but like the video prompting, that makes sense to me. If video modeling is effective, I would expect that, what if I did video modeling but shorter and more simple imitation of behaviors, I would expect those results to be much better.
Yeah.
So, we had multiple probe across participants, alternating treatments, we counterbalanced, talked about all of that. We had a baseline where they just said, hey, do these tasks, what happens? And then they had the different participants who were sort of in these like dyads do the skills with either video prompt or video model before. They were very clear to point out that they were using laptop computers, which they put in various places, like on top of the washing machine, which I thought was quaint and really made this feel like a very old article because they weren't like, and then I used my phone to watch the video because that's how we all watch videos now. But
I still use my laptop.
I mean, I do sometimes.
Those
but,
YouTube videos where I'm like, I need to fix my sink.
Oh, I don't want to get my laptop
I have
away.
my laptop right there. Because I'm old school.
Oh.
And, one of the big differences here was that since both of them had to go through the whole chain, if a child missed a step or didn't start the step in 30 seconds, they would sort of complete it for them before going on to the next video prompt, just because it wouldn't work otherwise. You'd just be watching videos of things you couldn't do anymore.
Right,
So.
you're like, but they're not in there. You're just
Yeah.
like loading, like you're putting soap in an empty washer machine if the clothes aren't in there.
Yeah. Well, when you get, like, if you're trying to follow along and the video gets ahead and you can't, like, complete it in time, then you're just, like, sitting there. You're like, well, I gotta wait until they're done or I gotta pause it because otherwise you're not going to remember.
Yeah.
Now, they don't explain where their plan Bs came into effect, but the idea was if the participant isn't learning the skill using video modeling or video prompting, we'll add an error correction procedure. So again, they'll say, sorry, Billy, that's not quite right. Here, watch this. And then they would show the video, again, for the video prompt or video model. They're
So
incorrect
at least
again.
they told
just
you what
complete
the
it.
prompt was.
Yeah, they tell you what it was.
I gave a prompt. Period.
And then regardless, whichever of the two video methods was the most efficient or effective, they'd use that one to teach the opposite skill, whatever skill the child had not mastered yet. And then if neither worked, well, we'll just do good old in vivo training, which was pretty much just, watch me, now you do it. It was just modeling,
Right.
each step in the chain.
Sure, makes sense.
So what
There's
happened?
also an early study that says that video modeling is as effective as in vivo
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
I also didn't bring that one in today.
No.
They didn't look at that one.
No.
I don't think we'd be surprised to say, hey, guess what? You didn't have to use a video. It's like, it wasn't 2001 before people started to learn things through modeling.
I love it. 1960s, I already brought it up.
Yep. All right, so pretty much the patterns are sort of pretty similar. You'd have the different participants performing, nobody was doing these skills in baseline. I think the best was, someone did up to like, 30, 40%
That's pretty
of the
good.
steps, which again, not bad, but again, it wasn't like they stabilized around there.
Right.
And the different participants would either learn decently with video prompting, or they would learn slowly but not to a mastery criteria, which again, I don't remember them giving me an exact mastery criteria with video prompting. But what was true was that almost nobody really learned anything with video modeling. It was a real wash with this population.
I wasn't that surprised when I read that because they're pretty complex
Yeah.
skills, right? And so I try to put myself in the participant's shoes with something that I'm learning that's complex, like knitting or, like sewing or like changing a tire. And you do have to stop the video,
Yes.
right? You can't watch the whole video and be like, I've got it, right, for these complex skills. So I actually wasn't surprised because these are harder skills than like a play sequence that follows naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
I was going to give a very similar example. So I have 2 times this week used YouTube to give myself a video model.
Yeah.
Not of self, of other. One, Rob, you were there with me. We were trying to replace the water filter for the whatever.
Over a water softener system.
Softener thingy.
It was very scary. It was water.
It was scary, but
under the stairs.
But I watched the video once before I started the task, and I said, "Got it." And I didn't need to watch the video again, and I did it just
Well, there
based
you
on
go.
that, right? And it was a relatively short video.
Well, there were
and
2
it
of
was-
us, though.
weren't there for the video.
No, I didn't see the video.
You didn't see the video,
No.
so it was like 4 steps basically, right?
Sure.
But then in another part of my life, I've been trying to learn how to crochet, and there's this thing you have to do initially when you start a new piece called the magic loop. And I have watched that video 100 times.
Yeah.
And every time I watch it, I'm like, got it. And then I try to do it, and I'm like, I don't got it, and I have to pause it and go back and basically like do it step by step and pausing it as she talks.
Oh, yeah.
And I still do not have it to mastery. I still am doing it backwards or something. I don't know what's going
Still
wrong.
working on my blanket.
Yeah.
Same way.
Yeah.
So sometimes a video modeling is helpful, but then we talk about prerequisites and the complexity of the skill, right?
And it's
How to
so
fold
small
a fitted sheet so that it's a flat square.
Yeah.
I
Oh
watched so
my
many
gosh.
videos. It's
Same.
impossible. You
They're all
can't
like-
do it.
You can't do it.
They're just like so quick. They're like, look how easy it is. Blah, blah, blah. It's done.
Right. And they'll do it so fast.
Yeah.
Or like
Movie
in this
magic.
video, it's like fiddly and tiny, and you're like
Yeah.
trying to look at what she's doing. So it's just a lot. There are many ways I think that a skill could be complex to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
And it may depend on the person as well.
Right.
Various participants require the error correction procedure. Not too many, but some, require the error correction procedure. And 3 participants needed in vivo instruction to learn at least one of the skills. So it wasn't like both of them really did anything magical. Video prompting did seem to be more effective than video modeling. However, video prompting was not the most effective technique for all participants. I think that's
Right.
something to keep in mind. But the video modeling had absolutely no effect for 5 of 7 participants. I think that was the big
Yeah.
take-home result there. Was
Yeah.
the video prompting was pretty effective for a lot of the students, getting them to, like 60, 70% in a lot of cases. Some of them up to 80. I think one was up to 100% just from doing the video prompting. But video modeling, when it had an effect, it was a very small effect. It was never better than video prompting in this study. Always required the switch to video prompting, and then potentially also required error correction and then the in vivo training. So, again, when we're thinking about video prompting versus video modeling, part of it could be, well, like we just talked about, the more complex the skill, the better the chance that you are going to need either more repetition with certain components of it, or certain components are so difficult to watch that they need to be broken down, whether by an experimenter creating the video prompts or by you watching the video and pausing and restarting and pausing and restarting to sort of create your own video prompts. It didn't seem like the point of view really mattered in terms of why one was different than the other. Though again,
Which is good.
Yeah, I mean, some people seem to like the point of view. So maybe some of them found it more salient because it was a point of view, first person point of view than third person. But it doesn't seem to matter too much.
Yeah.
And again, they were able to show that their participant who was deaf or hard of hearing was able to learn the skill, not again to fully mastery, but was able to learn the skill without being able to access the voiceover components. And the question is, well, a voiceover is nice, but is a voiceover necessary? Is the visual just enough?
They could have done a closed captioning, which would have been more compliant.
Maybe.
right?
I don't think this participant would have. They didn't mention. I
Right.
don't know. But,
I know, but wouldn't that
may
be-
not have been able to read the captions while
Right,
watching.
but that might be a good thing to do if you're thinking.
Sure,
Now
it
it's
certainly
much
could.
easier to do that.
Yeah.
than it probably was.
Now
even
it's so
10 years
easy,
ago.
yeah.
All right.
All right. And then the big take-home question was, what if we also taught the participants to start the videos themselves? Which, again, maybe in 2011 was hard, but I'm pretty sure every child born in the last 15 years can start a video, completely independently now. So congratulations, society. We did it. We solved one research question without a lot of help.
My child just learned how to do that.
Oh,
so
it's a great skill.
it's hilarious. She's like, I can use the remote control now. I'm like,
You don't even need a remote, just get a device and bash in your parents' code that you somehow learned.
Yeah, we don't have devices.
No.
Sorry.
Well, sorry.
They get them at school.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to review the Tereshko study in a lot of detail because it's a lot like the one that Rob just did. I just like it a lot, and so I really wanted to include it. So, what did they call it in yours, Rob?
The video prompting?
Video prompting. So in this one, they call that segmented video modeling, but it's basically the same thing. And what I really want to note here is that this study was done with 4 autistic children who had a history already of not learning through video modeling.
It's important to know.
Yes, and so we don't really know for the Canella study if those participants had the same history.
They
right?
did not. No, they had not done video instruction before.
Yeah, so they don't know, right? So it sounds like for them, video modeling on its own may not have been.
Oh, they don't know.
Effective?
Okay, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
thought you meant whether they had done video modeling. No, yes.
Yeah, so
they,
we don't-
They did not know.
We
if
don't
they'd ever-
know. And here they were really working to try to hold constant the difficulty of the tasks. So these were young kids, and they had these really cute little mega blocks like creatures that they were building.
I remember those.
Yes.
You remember? I remember when they were running the study, and I can't remember what we called them. I think they were just guys. It was Guy A and Guy B or something like that. But they had 4 of these little monster guys. They were mega blocks. Maybe we can find a picture to include somehow. And they each had 8 steps. You would like put on their feet and their body and their claws and their eyes and their antenna or something like that. And what they did was they initially like tried to show them the whole video, and then they broke the video down into 8 segments, and then would just show the first one. They would complete it. They would get to mastery on that step. Then the next video would have the 2 steps combined. They would complete the 2 steps, on and on and on. And that was basically very effective for these learners. For one learner, they learned by watching the full video. So their previous history with not doing video modeling well, we don't know what the difference was here. But for them, they didn't need it segmented. For one participant, he only needed to watch the segmented video for the first one. And then they saw some generalization from guy A to guy B.
Oh my goodness, it's a sneeze-a-thon.
So that was kind of interesting, but he did need the segmented video to like kind of get things off the ground, and then that was very effective for him.
Love
but
that.
Not as good for the experimental control. And then for Tom, he needed segmented training for 2 of the 3 videos, but all of his scores improved after learning the first one. And then for Joe, he had a lot of variability, but did eventually get it via this segmented video modeling method. So if no one's tried that before, where you like take a longer video and break it down and teach it component by component, it could be an effective method for learners who haven't been able to learn using this format otherwise.
Right. So wait, as I'm listening to you, and when I read the articles, I had imagined Rob. Now tell me if I'm wrong. I had imagined Rob's. There was the video, the task, the video, a task, video, a task. But with yours, I had imagined it was a video, a task. Then they have segment 1, segment 2, a task. So they're slightly different.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So they're slightly, okay, just wanted to like make that clear. They're slightly different because eventually in the Teresco study, they saw the entire video at the end. But with yours, the video prompting, they just saw
the pieces
of the video. Okay, just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, actually, now you mentioned it, they did not mention any sense of like, and then we faded it out, or we started. It was just chunk.
Yeah, chunk
action, chunk action, chunk action. Yeah.
Okay, we wanted to make sure. That's probably also why they are slightly different in name.
Yeah,
because they're slightly different in function.
Yeah,
cool.
Could be. There's a lot of different variations on this, and then they can be called different things in literature too, so it gets a little bit tricky. But any of these might be good ideas for if you're trying to make videos for your student, or you think that they might learn this way. These are all potential variations on a theme that could work for you.
Love it.
I would like to see more with the sort of like watch a bit and then perform.
Hang on, Rob.
What?
Sounds like you might be pulling in.
Oh, fine, yes. We're pulling in the dissemination station where we sum up the research that was discussed and talked about.
I'm sitting on my steamer trunk. I'm waiting for you.
Your petticoats on.
I was here the whole time.
Your little boots with the buttons.
Talk about new directions for you to take your practice or your research.
Or your podcast.
I don't want someone else to just take this idea of, I'm going to make a whole video modeling podcast. A, you don't have that many episodes probably. B, we already did 2 of them.
And then Jackie took it in a different direction.
Yeah.
Here in the dissemination station.
You guys were coming here, and I was already here.
She's already here.
Hanging out on my steamer trunk with my petticoats.
You guys are just visualizing things.
What did you want to say about the research?
Yeah.
I would like to see more research similar to the Tereshko study with the piece and then the action and then sort of the repetition and then building up to the entire...
I don't know if someone's replicated that. I haven't seen it.
I will need to look before I answer that question. I also thought that I had previously found one where it was just the video was running next to the participant.
There is studies that do that, but I don't remember what it is. I have.
Yeah, and again, I didn't find it easily because I think they're all named different things. Yeah. But I think that's also an interesting...
Right, just
a variation on this as well that you could look at. Yeah.
But it does seem like whether you want to do third person or first person,
self or other,
may not matter too much. Self or other may not matter. So whatever you can do quickly to start is probably more important.
Quickly with quality, right?
Yes.
You don't want a crappy video model.
Just what would be part of a good video model then? Because we didn't really talk about.
I think a good video model is a clear model, right?
Yep.
The actions are clear. You can see what you're supposed to be doing, and there's not a lot of extraneous things happening.
So spend your time writing a really good TA.
Yes.
And then acting it out however you're going to act it out so that it's going to be fluid with your camera.
Right. And don't have, like, extraneous people.
Yes.
Trying to get a clean background
without
a lot of distractions in it is usually important.
Yeah.
But then in terms of whether you want to do the whole model, part of a model, depends.
It's you.
Try what you want to do. I mean, if you have the time to do the editing, I would actually kind of rather start with some of the video prompts. But again, if the student's going to learn through video modeling, that's a lot easier to film and then show. It's a simpler procedure.
You could assess, or you could assess video modeling, right? You could use video modeling for like 3 sessions. Then if it doesn't work, you can say like split it up so that you don't have to add in the extraneous prompts that then you would have to fade out.
And then, or start
like
simply. You know, start with your younger students or your younger clients with simple tasks. You know, put the code on the hook kind of things where it's very simple, just a few steps. Rather than the first time I used video modeling was to change a spark plug in a lawnmower. Like that's a lot of steps there, and your 5-year-old probably shouldn't be doing it.
Your 5-year-old should not be cleaning the fish tank.
You know, I'm glad you asked the parents what they need help with.
Especially not next to the lawnmower.
Right?
That's not appropriate.
Anyway, I need that TA and clean the fish tank because I continuously screw it up every single week.
Fish tanks are gross.
They are.
I also think more with the voiceover piece, right? And I would be interested to see as well if you see transfer of that, you know, if it's like a voiceover prompt, then it's a verbal prompt away from the video, and if the individuals start to do it themselves.
Like a mediating
right?
response,
Yeah, I like that.
Thanks, Rob. I think that might just be an interesting thing to look at because we all use these types of prompts, right? Like I like that about video modeling too, is they're ubiquitous.
I was just going to use that word too.
Good job, you guys.
Only another word that you use in science.
Although when I think about voiceovers and when I'm repeating them, usually it's in the context of like, turn this clockwise. Like, what are you talking about? With my phalange? I don't understand. Like, I can say it all day. I don't know how to do it.
Yes.
But not always, because with my magic loop video, I'm like, okay, now make a loop. Put it in. Like I talk to myself through the process. Maybe not overtly, but covertly. I use that. So I don't know if that could be a strategy.
Maybe I just remember the video models that failed miserably. Or I failed to follow the video model.
Okay.
Anyway. Cool.
All right. That brings us to the end of our episode on video modeling variations. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, or even if you didn't, why not go ahead and subscribe? Next week's will be another fun episode, I'm sure. Please, we're on all of your favorite podcast players and podcast locations. You can also find us on all the socials at ABA Inside Track. You can find these episodes posted every week on our YouTube channel. You can go to our website, abainsidetrack.com, to get links to all of the articles that we discussed, as well as to find a list of all of the episodes we've done. Hey, go back 200 and find our original video modeling episode for fun. Why don't you? You can email us at abainsidetrack@gmail.com with any questions. And if you want even more ABA Inside Track content, plus getting your episodes a week ahead of time, some CE discounts, and access to some bonus episodes like our super long book club podcast and our live episodes, as well as a couple free CEs, why not subscribe on patreon.com/ABA Inside Track. We're going to be recording our next book club, Between Now and Dreams, very shortly. It's a parenting book.
You know what I thought you were going to say? Between now and then.
Yes.
Like, when is then?
And we also had a recent live episode on visual supports, which maybe some of you went to. Again, that's patreon.com/ABA Inside Track. Big thanks to some other folks who help us make the show. Big thanks to Dr. Jim Carr for recording our intro and outro music, Kyle Sturry for our interstitial music, and Dan Thabit of the Podcast Doctors for his fabulous editing work. And so he doesn't have to edit this in later, I want to remind you of that last secret code word.
Nailed it.
Thank you. It is Maggie, Maggie, the third Simpsons child. I'm sure there's another
She's
Maggie
my
too,
favorite,
but that's the only one. The baby with the pacifier.
The baby's my favorite.
Yeah, Maggie. We'll be back next week with another full-length episode, but until then, keep responding. Bye!
Ahoy, mateys!
Ahoy, ahoy.